What's going down, everybody? It's your man, Pro Diggy from the Chaos Crew, but you can call me Diggy if you like. And in this particular commentary, I'm going to be teaching you, possibly a way of getting out of a ticket, especially in this particular situation, a speeding ticket. Real quick before I get into that, somebody asked they wanted to see a striker gameplay, so here it is. I go like 32-11 or something like that, so it's like almost a 3 KD, and it was a pretty exciting game. I had some fun playing with it, full homo. So anyway, let's get into this shit. Okay, so on December 14th, 2010, me and Flex were going, Flex and I, because, let's be, like, grammatically correct or whatever. We're going to San Diego to visit my dad. Sit down! To visit my dad for Christmas, okay? So, sit down. We were driving on the 405, for those of you that are familiar with California, driving down the 405 in the Compton-Carson area, and we're in the carpool lane. Now, the traffic outside's going about 70, which is fine, but we're carpooling, and, it's easier to be in there, unless you have my situation, where there's a lady in the carpool lane going 60 fucking miles per hour. Just because you have two people or more in the car does not mean that it is a requirement for you to be in the carpool lane. It is there for when there is traffic, so people that are carpooling can get in there and possibly go a little bit faster than the traffic. You don't get into the carpool lane to make traffic. You get into the carpool lane to beat traffic. That lady needs to have her license stripped from her until she figures out what the fuck the carpool lane is for. But anyway, sit down. Okay, so I'm in the carpool lane. She's doing 60. I'm like, fuck this. I wait for a break in the carpool lane because if you cross the double yellow line, you can get a ticket. So I'm trying to obey the law, obviously, right? Okay, and then the break comes. I get out. Now, the break in the carpool lane is a quarter of a mile. We're going 60 miles an hour. I get out of the carpool lane. I speed up. I get back in. That's it, okay? A couple of seconds later, I'm getting pulled over by a fucking CHP, and I'm like, what the fuck is this all about? Now, one thing to mention, though. Prior to this happening, before I got out of the carpool lane, there was a, mid-2000s, 5 Series BMW that fucking just zoomed past us, right? And I remember because I looked at Flex, and I was like, wow, that guy's in a fucking hurry. So then I got out of the carpool lane, do my thing, get back in, get pulled over. I'm like, what the fuck? So the guy's like, oh, license, registration, proof of insurance. I'm like, here you go. You want to tell me what I got pulled over for? He's like, well, I pulled you over for your speed. And I was like, okay, how fast was I going? Because I was doing I think maybe 70-ish, right? And he's like, well, I got you going about 85 plus. And I'm like, how did you come up with that figure? And he's like, well, I was doing 80 and you were pulling away from me. Brr, what? Are you serious? I was going 60, I got out of the carpool lane, I sped up, I got back into the carpool lane, I got pulled over. So you're telling me my 155 horsepower Nissan Altima can go from 60 to 90 fucking miles an hour in a quarter of a mile? I don't think so. Maybe if I drove like a Porsche or something. Get off the ground, dickface. Headshot, ho. Okay, so I'm like, maybe you were confused between me and that BMW or something. And he's like, what BMW? I was like, all right, whatever, fuck it. I'm obviously this isn't going to work. So I was just like, all right, give me my ticket. I'll see you in court. And then I'll see you with a 3-piece. And they say 2-piece, but I don't give a fuck. That was a 3-piece, goddammit. Okay, so anyway, and then you can sit down. So basically, I'm like, I'll see you in court. Okay, so now this is what you got to do. Okay, if you want to beat the ticket. Okay, this is California, I don't know how other places are or whatever, but I'm just telling you from my own experience. Maybe you could do some kind of variant of this or whatever. But basically what you do is, you get your ticket, and usually it's about 2 to 3 months after the date of, your violation when you're actually supposed to show up in court. I think mine was about 3 months. Okay, so it's December, we got January, February, March, it was my first court date. Now, the day before that court date, what I did is I went online, I found my ticket, and then there's things you can do online about your ticket. You can request an extension, which I believe gives you another 2 months. So now we're 5 months in, right? Now, a day before that court date, I went back on the website, and there was another option to request a court date. So I requested a court date, which was another 3 months. So now we're at 8 months, right? Sick. Okay. Now, I actually went to court on that court date after the 8 months, and I saw the judge. Now you plead not guilty. Then they're going to ask you for the bail amount, which is the amount of the ticket if you were guilty. Okay. So then what you do is you say, I don't have the money to pay it. Can I get OR, which stands for own recognizance, which basically means that you're promising to show up for your court date even though you didn't pay. Okay, so you do that, and then the judge, what they did for me was, he's like, well, I'll give you a month to pay it or whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine. So a month went by. So now we're at 9 months. I went back, and I'm like, look, judge, I can't afford it right now. Times are really tough, blah, 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 excuses, right? So we're at 9 months, and he's like, all right, look, I'll give you OR, but if you don't show up for your court date, I'm going to make a bail amount that's high enough to where if they catch you, they were going to arrest you and take you to jail. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I go and I get my court date. And I requested my court date as far ahead as they possibly could fucking give it to me, which was January the 18th. So basically, that's 13 months since the ticket was written, okay? And what that does for you is usually when a cop gets subpoenaed to court and they see the ticket and the ticket's over a year old, they're like, fucking A, man, I don't remember this shit. So they just don't show up. Because I figured out the average. I did a lot of homework on this. I figured out the average that the average like CHP officer out here writes about 4 tickets a day. Okay. Now 4 tickets a day times however many days it's been since he wrote the ticket. It's been about 1,000 tickets. So he's written 1,000 tickets since he wrote my ticket. There's no way he's going to fucking remember what actually happened and all this shit. And on top of that, I did some research. Just in case the guy did show up, I probably would have won. Because as far as his calculation of how fast I was going and stuff isn't accurate, number one. And number two, my black BMW excuse probably would have, because I would have been like, is it true that there was a black BMW? Like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, could there have been a different car? Did you see me the entire time? And he probably would have been like, I can't remember. See, the thing is at that point, after basically you just kind of discredit them as a witness, and then you say, I move to dismiss this case due to an incompetent witness. Generally, if the guy's been like, I don't know, I don't recall, for most of the questions, which you ask questions that you know he's probably going to say that to, the judge has to dismiss the case, because if the guy doesn't know what the fuck, he can't remember anything, then how can you know if you were guilty or not? So he's a bad witness, and then you end up winning the case. But 90% of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, because I've done this a couple of times, and the cop never fucking shows up. So if you can stretch your ticket out, just stretch it out as far as you possibly can. If you can stretch it out for a year, fuck it, good. And the thing is that people might say like, well, that sounds like a long time and a lot of shit to deal with, but look at it like this. I didn't have to pay $400 for the ticket. I didn't get a point on my license or have to do traffic school, and my insurance didn't go up because of the point on my license. So it really is kind of worth it when you think about it. I had to go to court a couple of times, and it was spread out over so many months, it really wasn't a big deal. It's not like I had to go to court once a week for like 5 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Diggy's day in court. I fought the law and I won. That's right. So maybe that'll help you guys out, teach you guys a few things. Maybe you guys could beat a ticket one day. But anyway, this has been your man, Pro Diggy, from the motherfucking Chaos Crew. But you can call me Diggy if you like. Don't forget, as always, to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my sights.